Be confident, be bold, be authentic, but don't forget to take action. This is Ordinary to Badass, where our stories empower women to step into the spotlight of their own lives and pursue what they're truly passionate about. It's time to step into the arena and become more than just extraordinary. It's time to become a badass with your host, Marie Sonneman.
Welcome to Ordinary to Badass, episode number 107. In this episode, I am going to be sharing why Hailey Peel is so badass. Did you listen to episode 106? Wasn't Hailey badass? I really enjoyed talking to her and hearing all about her outdoor adventures. So I'm going to share a few reasons why Hailey Peel is so badass. Definitely make sure that you go back and listen to the other episode. If you're short on time and you just want a little recap and want to know why Hailey's badass, then listen to this episode. And then if you like it, you can always go back and listen to Hailey's episode. So before we get into the nitty gritty about the episode, I want to talk a little bit. This weekend, there's going to be another masterclass brought back by popular demand, and it's going to be 5 money behaviors that are keeping you in debt and small tweaks that you can make for financial success. Here's the thing. Budgeting is not hard. Now, I would have told you in the beginning it was hard, but I have tried to break it down, simplify it, and find out just small tweaks that you can make, and it's really not going to be hard or stressful for you. And I try to lay it out so that you can do it and have success with it. So I would love for you to join me in the masterclass, and it is going to be on, and the masterclass is going to be on Saturday, the 1st, May 1st, May Day. So I would love to have you there. I believe at 3 p.m. Pacific time. But hey, I know, as an O2B listener, but in case this is your first episode, I paid off $106,000 in just under 2 years. Really? My passion, my excitement is seeing you do the same thing. Seeing you be able to get out of debt and then plan for your financial future. Because it sucks struggling to pay the bills or having your debit card bounce or overdraw. I don't know about you, but I've had that happen to me, and it's so stressful. Ugh. I was mortified. I was mortified because it happened to me in front of my mother-in-law at the time and my stepdaughters, and I just wanted to go crawl in a hole or hide under a blanket because I was so embarrassed. But sometimes we forget that these things that just are hard, these things that suck, these mistakes that we've made are the very things that push us and propel us and make us really badass at something. So yeah, I paid off $106,000. That's a great story to tell. It didn't feel good in the beginning. It didn't feel good when I was $106,000 in debt. But it feels good now because I can say that I've overcome that. So I would love to have you in the masterclass, 5 money behaviors that are keeping you in debt and small tweaks you can make for financial success. So please join me in the masterclass. I will throw the link in the comments here as well as in the show notes. So I would love to see you there. All right, now let's get to the episode. All right, let's talk about 4 reasons why Hailey Peel is so badass. First, Hailey draws on her experience to tap into her badassery. Second, Hailey knows her why. Third, she breaks down the steps, makes some small micro steps. Fourth, she lives on the edge of her comfort zone. All right, let's get into the nitty gritty on these. First, Hailey draws on her experience to tap into her badassery. Now, I know this one might be obvious because that was the title of her episode, But it's so important to draw on your experience and use that to help you feel badass. As Haley said, she doesn't always feel badass, but that's when she relies on her past experiences, on the things she's done. That is so important. So, are you drawing on your past experiences? Are you really even giving yourself credit for these things that you've done? These hard situations that you've overcome? You are a badass. I know you are. Just like Haley, you are a badass. So it's time that you start tapping into that, right? So draw on these experiences, start tapping into it. Here's something that I do from time to time. And I believe that I've talked about this on here before, but like Haley said, I try to think of past things that I've done that made me feel badass, that made me feel confident. And so what I think I've talked about before is like a hike, like a really hard hike. And at the top, I took a rock, and then I can use that rock as like a memento. And so when I hold that rock, I'm like, oh man, that was badass. I really felt badass in that moment, right? Or another thing would be when I paid off $106,000 in debt. That felt amazing. That felt great. Like, I could not believe that I had done that. So then when there's times that I doubt myself, or there's times where I want to get energy to build up some confidence, or if I'm trying to visualize like my future self being confident and being badass, then I try to tap into that feeling of being on top of the mountain with a rock in my hand, or paying off $106,000 in debt and just feeling like amazing, on top of the world. So I try to picture that remember that feeling, and then put it towards a future event. And that really helps. Like, I am such a believer in visualization. So sometimes you have to really feel those moments as if they've already happened. So you can use your past moments to help you feel into the future moments. So I loved that Haley said she draws on her past experiences to tap into her badassery. I would love, love, love for you to start doing that if you are not already. If you're already doing that, let me know. I want to hear. I want to know who else is doing this. All right. The second thing that I thought was so badass was Haley said to know your why. Now, Haley knows her why. She knows why she's doing this. But do you know your why? Do you know why you're doing things? It helps to push you a bit further. Like, why are you doing that hike? Why are you running that marathon? Why are you working in your job? And so then something that she suggested is to keep asking yourself why. And there's an exercise out there like 7 levels deep, and it's all about asking your why. Like, why are you in your job? And then you might say, because I need money. And then ask yourself, why? Why do you need money? And you might say, because I have to support me and my family. And why is that important? You just keep asking why, and do this at least 7 times until you get to something more substantial, like more concrete, because a lot of times we just give surface answers. And I think that's most people, just for the first couple of whys. It's like the surface level answer, what we think we should give or what we're expected to give, but it's not really a real why. So consider doing that. Follow Haley's role model or follow Haley's lead and keep asking yourself why. Why are you doing things? And kind of just get to the bottom of it, right? Don't just do things because you think it's what you're supposed to do. And then the other part of this is when you know your why, it will keep you motivated, right? There are so many times where you will give up if you don't know your why, or if you don't have a good enough reason for doing it. And if you know your why, you can kind of keep that at the top of your mind. So when things are tough and you want to give up, then you're like, oh, but I'm doing it because of this. Like, I initially started financial coaching and Ordinary to Badass and all that stuff because my why was to help my parents. That's it. I wanted to make sure that when they retired, that they had enough money and they weren't struggling financially. So that was my why. That was my motivator. I wanted to be able to pay off their mortgage. And turned out they did it on their own. I didn't have to, but that was a big motivator. That was something that helped me get out of my own comfort zone, because I was an introvert and I probably would have made some excuses, but my why was that I did not want my parents to struggle when they retired. So that motivated me to get moving, right? To take action that I might not have otherwise taken. So take it from Haley and know your why. Okay, number 3. Third reason why Haley is so badass is because she breaks down steps. If you look at the big picture, it can be so overwhelming. And then what happens when you're overwhelmed? Chances are you quit, you give up, you begin to think that it's impossible and that you can't do it. So how can you break it down into smaller steps, right? You don't have to do the whole thing. You don't have to know every step in the big picture. But you just look at, okay, what is the next step? What is the next thing to do? And this should totally sound familiar to you, because now, I don't know about you, but I'm recognizing a pattern. I heard Dan Warheide talk about this, and I also breaking it down into micro steps. I also heard when we heard from Mike Bechtel, he talked about that too, right? Here's what I've come to realize is when I start hearing something over and over, that is something to write down. That is something to take notice of. When people that I view as mentors or as successful, they are doing things, and then I start to hear a pattern of the same type of behavior and it's working for them, then I take note of that. I'm like, okay, clearly Mike Bechtel, Dan Warheide, Haley Peel, they have it figured out. So now I'm going to start mimicking some of these behaviors or start doing some of these things, right? So let me do what they did to be successful. And that's how it happens first, or that's how it happens in the beginning. We have to mimic somebody who's successfully done it before us, and then we can tweak it and make it our own, right? So definitely start breaking down your steps. That's what I talked about in the last episode too. Like in a marathon, I would say one step out, right? Or I'd say, okay, I'm running to that light and then I'm stopping and then I'm going to walk for 2 minutes. Okay, I'm going to walk until this point and then I'm going to go. You have to set little milestones for yourself. It doesn't have to be the big picture, just the small steps. And that's what Haley talked about, like doing her hikes. She can't look at the whole hike for the 24 hours. She had to take small steps and say, okay, let me just get to this point and then I can take my shoes off, right? So think of how you can break down the steps in your life. Break down those steps, friends. All right. The fourth thing that I thought was so badass about Haley Peel is how she lives on the edge of her comfort zone. Haley said, I strive to live my life at the edge or outside my comfort zone. I think life kind of begins there. How epic is that? Oh, it is so hard. It's so hard to move outside of our comfort zone and to do something different and to stretch ourselves. But man, how cool does it feel? And then, as with anything else, the more practice you get, the better it gets. It gets a little bit easier. It gets a little bit better. So, start stretching your comfort zone a little bit, right? Just go to the edge of your comfort zone. You don't have to go take a big leap. We often think it's these huge milestones that we have to make, or like we want it different. Just one day, we want it to just all be different. But no, it's the stuff day in and day out. So you got to start stretching yourself. You got to start doing things to push yourself, to make yourself a little bit uncomfortable, to make yourself nervous. Nervousness, I just made up a new word. Nervousness and excitement are very close emotions. But it's all about the story that you're telling yourself in your head. And so I used to do this for public speaking. I hated public speaking, and so I joined Toastmasters. So before going up there, I was nervous as all get out. But then I had heard somewhere about nervousness and excitement being so close to each other, but it's about what you're telling yourself. And so I started to apply that. And before I would go up for a speech, I'd be like, oh, good. Thank you. My excitement's here. When I would start to feel nervous. And you can do that too. Tap into that a little bit. Use it to your advantage. There's things you might not be able to do if you didn't have the excitement to do it, right? So use that to push you forward. So take it from Haley. Live on the edge of your comfort zone or push those boundaries just a little bit, and you would be amazed at the things that you can accomplish. You are so badass. You are more than capable of taking this advice, doing the things that Haley's doing. You just have to implement it. And it could just be one teeny tiny thing, one small step. Start implementing that in your daily life. I would love that. All right, let's do a bit of a recap. 4 things that make Haley Peel so badass. First, she draws on her experience to tap into her badassery. Second, Haley knows her why. Third, Haley says to break down your steps, and she does the same thing. She breaks down her steps. And the 4th thing is Haley lives on the edge of her comfort zone or outside of her comfort zone, and she says that's where life begins. So, oh my gosh, did you like this episode as much as me? I mean, I know that I'm an outdoor girl and I like some adventure, so maybe I'm partial to it, but I think that there was a lot of great tidbits in there. Because even if hiking is not your thing, you can implement every single thing that I just listed. All 4 of those things that make her badass, you can implement them in your own way, in your own life. And I would love to see that. I mean, the best thing is when you hear guests, or when I have guests on this show, and you think they're badass and you learn something from them, and then you go implement it in your daily life. I freaking love that. Love it. All right. So I would love for you to head on over to Instagram, or actually take a screenshot of this episode and head on over to Instagram. Definitely put it in your stories and tell us a takeaway. Tell us something that you learned from this episode. What did you learn from Haley? Well, something that you thought was badass, whether you agree with me or not from this episode. If you have something else that's badass, share that with her. Or share something that she taught in the last episode that really resonated with you. Or if you applied any of those things into your own life and how it's affecting you. Or if she changed your mind about something, share that. So take a screenshot, head on over to Instagram and tag me at Ordinary to Badass and Haley comments 310. So make sure to do that. I am super grateful that Haley came on the show. So let's show our gratitude. Let's say thank you for coming on the Ordinary to Badass podcast, and then let's show her some love. All right. With that, I will let you go. I will talk to you on Monday. And on Monday, we will have Andy Vargo on the podcast. And he talks about owning your awkward. So make sure to tune in on Monday. If you've ever felt awkward about anything, you're going to love to hear what Andy has to say. All right. Wherever you are, whatever you are doing, own it and get after it.
Now that you've listened to this episode of Ordinary to Badass, we want to hear from you. Go to our website, ordinarytobadass.com/podcast, and submit your own experience on how you took your life from ordinary to badass and get the chance to be on a future spotlight episode of the show. That's ordinarytobadass.com/podcast. While you're waiting for the next episode of the show, wipe off the sweat, dust off the dirt, and get back in the arena.